Hey you guys, it's Amy Gretchen. Welcome back to another Project Life Process video. In this video, I'm working on week 17 from 2017. So I wanted to begin this video by showing you the stamp set that I want to use. So I don't always go into a spread knowing what I want to do. In fact, most of the time I don't have a clue. But this time I had printed my photos and I thought, you know what? I want to use this stamp set. This came from a Studio Calico stamp kit and I haven't used it yet. This is from March, so shame on me. I need to pull it out. I really love the labels and I love the sentiments in there, so I really wanted to be able to use it. So I also went ahead and I pulled over some inks that I thought would work well with some of the photos that I had. So I pulled over the Ali Edwards Olympia, and then I had Memento Luxe. It's gray flannel and I think dandelion. And then I had some Color Theory inks, Flamingo and Purple Rain that I pulled out. Those two are dye inks and the other three are pigment inks, just in case you're curious about those. And I actually like all of those inks. Then I also went ahead and I looked through my stash of cards. I feel like it's been a really long time since I did Week in the Life, Project Life, because of Week in the Life. I didn't do a layout for that week, so I kind of skipped week 16, so I got to go back. So I felt like I hadn't seen my cards in a long time, so it was fun to be able to go through them and figure out what cards I potentially wanted to use. I'm not really sure, but I pulled out some cards that had purple in them and some pinks because my daughter's prom dress, so you'll see that coming up because I have some photos from prom this week. This week was actually a week that I didn't have a ton of photos, also because of Week in the Life. So normally the week right after, I take very little photos because I take so many during Week in the Life. I think I took probably about 1,000 pictures during Week in the Life, and which is, maybe I think it's probably like 100 and something a day, which is pretty on par for me. And so the week after that, I tend to maybe take like 50 or maybe 75 for the entire week. So I really give myself a break, and I enjoy being able to take as many pictures as I want when I want and take a break when I want as well. So definitely keep that in mind for yourself. When you get tired, it's okay to take a break, and it's okay if sometimes your project life spreads are more story based than photo based, because especially like I said with Week in the Life, yeah, definitely the week before is going to be very heavily photo based. All right, so let's just jump back into the spread here. So I am just doing a little bit of stamping. I stamped that Dandelion Memento Luxe ink first. That's a pigment ink. And now I'm doing the Flamingo, which is from Studio Calico. This is a dye ink. I like both of them. I think they have a great color, and I think they both stamp beautifully. Then I pulled over the Purple Rain. I thought it was a little too purple, and so I tried to combine both the pink and the purple to make more of a magenta color. And what I ended up liking the best is when I stamped the pink first and then put the purple on top of it. It worked out really well. Now it's pretty hard to see in this video, but the naked eye, it looks really great. It seems to match my daughter's dress pretty well, which is kind of what I was going for, more of that magenta color. So I am grabbing over some of the sentiments. This says "this moment," and I'm just stamping that in the VersaFine black ink. And then the other one in the yellow that I'm stamping says "weekend." Now I stamped those out probably a little bit too premature because I wasn't exactly sure where I wanted them to go on the photos. And so it's not a problem. I don't end up having to stamp it again, but I probably would have stamped like this moment a little bit lower if I knew where it was going to go, but you'll see what I mean, where it ends up. It looks totally fine. But, I did learn from my mistake, and the other labels that I cut out, I waited to know exactly where I wanted them to go on my photo before I stamped it. So maybe just something to think about if you want to try doing something like this. So I'm putting those labels onto the photo and trying to decide where I want them to go. That's something that you're going to see me do a lot of this video, is kind of futz around with where I want things to go. You know how I don't like to have all these embellishments on top of each other. And so, and then there's multiple colors that I'm dealing with. So there's just a lot of things that I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And you'll see that coming up. So now I'm just doing the same thing that I did before, and I'm grabbing over the yellow and I'm stamping some yellow in that label, and then I'm grabbing over another label, and I'm gonna grab, I don't think I showed this in the beginning, but oh no, I did, the Olympia ink. So I grabbed over that Ali Edwards Olympia ink, and then I'm just stamping that down here. I really like it. You'll see I really like this color, actually. It's one of my favorites that Ali Edwards has, but I felt it was a little too dark, so I actually end up having to stamp that one more time. But like I said, I'm getting ahead of myself. You'll see that coming up. So one thing that I wanted to share with you, and I talked about this a long time ago, but if you're new to my channel, I might as well share it again. That stamp press that I'm using is from Fiskars, and I absolutely love it. It's fantastic. And the reason why is because I like that you can stamp down and get really great pressure, especially when you're using a large stamp. I like that it has the grid. You saw with that stamp that I was using, it was pretty flimsy because the center was open, and I wanted to make sure that those lines were as straight as I possibly could get them. So I like that it has the grid so that I could straighten any of the lines I needed to straighten. It's just really great. I love that you can, because it has the sponge bottom, you can move your stamp around and get it exactly where you want it before you stamp it down. So if you've never used it, it's actually not very expensive. And if you are into stamping or want to do more stamping, I would highly, highly recommend it. I believe there's 2 sizes. I don't know what size I have, but I know it's the largest size. So I know they also have like a smaller one. So if you're interested, definitely check that out. I'll have it linked below. So you saw that I started cutting out my stamps. I definitely, this video is so long, I definitely wanted to cut some of that out so you didn't have to see everything. But now what I'm doing is I'm just stamping "The Struggle is Real," that sentiment that also came from that stamp set. And I'm putting it on that photo, just at the bottom of that photo of me with the snow. So that's what you can see. I'm outside and it's snowing, which, for me, I'm like, it's the last week of April. Why is it still snowing? So this week was pretty off and on. It was really cold. It was about 40, 45, got into the 30s in the evening. Obviously, it got cold enough to snow. And it was rainy most of the week and the week before, like Week in the Life. So I have been so ready for the sun to come out. And luckily, when I'm filming this, it was a sunny, nice day. So I'm thinking this week that I'm working on this, which is actually week 18, is a big turnaround. So anyway, I was actually thinking about stamping that "The Struggle is Real" right onto that photo, but I thought it would be hard to read it because there wasn't a really great place to put it. So that's why I did it on the white, and then I cut it down and just put it at the bottom, because I thought that label was just too big and there wasn't another label that fit the sentiment "The struggle is real." So I just decided to cut it down so it was a little bit skinnier. So now you're seeing me kind of move those labels back and forth, really trying to see where I want everything to go. I couldn't decide if I wanted this moment to be on the photo of my daughter with her date or on the photo with her friend when they were getting ready. I think it works in both places. So I just decided to mix it up. And I think the yellow and the purple, those colors kind of decided for me. Now I'm just looking through some of those cards that I had pulled out previous and trying to figure out if there's any of them that I want to use. like normally this is kind of the point where I think about what stories I want, what particular stories I want to tell during this week, and then trying to decide how I want to do that. If I want to make my own 3x4 card, or if I want to grab a 3x4 card that I got in a kit. So that's kind of what I was trying to figure out what to do with that blank 3x4 card. So now I'm just sticking at that label on the bottom. So I was just, trying to make sure, figure out that's exactly what I wanted to do. And then I just cut it off the bottom. Yeah, I think I pull over my trimmer because it didn't cut off very even, because I was using these small scissors, because of course I cannot find my big scissors, because everyone comes into my studio and always is taking my scissors. So one minute I have like 4 and the next minute I have none. So it doesn't matter how many times I say, please don't take my scissors. They are always gone. I don't know if that happens to you guys, but it's definitely, the struggle is real on that for sure. So now I'm just making these 3x4 cards. You see me do this probably every single week, and I'm just cutting them down to size. And the one thing I do here that you might not be aware of is that photo right there of the dancing. That actually was a little bit bigger than 3. So when I cut it down to 4 inches, that white space was too small for what I wanted the journaling to be, and it didn't match the other one. So I went ahead and I cut down the photo, and you can see me doing it here. I'm just adhering it onto that white again, and then I'm cutting it down. So the white is 1 inch. I think it ends up being, 3-inch photo and then 1-inch white space that then I can do my journaling on. So then I'm also going to be working on another card. And there were several stories that I wanted to tell this week. And one of the things that I ended up not doing, which now that I'm thinking about it, I was kind of surprised, because there's definitely more stories that I would have told this week. I was going to do kind of like a list, because when you look at that stamp set again, there's numbers. So I was thinking about doing a list, and I don't end up doing that. I end up doing, I think, so maybe 3 specific stories. And I might even go back and add a couple. You'll see that I do a couple white cards with some squared photos. You'll see that coming up in just a minute. I'm thinking about maybe going back in and adding a little bit more journaling to those photos, but I have yet to do that. So I don't know if I actually will, or if I just might leave it and just call it good and not worry about it. So what I ended up doing with that card is I had a card that I'd cut up before. And so I just stuck it onto I didn't stick it onto the top of it. I stuck them together, and then I put a piece of paper on the back of it. So I didn't want it to look overlapped. I really wanted it to look like one solid thing. So that's probably really hard to understand. But if you put the cardstocks together and then just add tape or something to the back of it, then they'll be secure and you don't have to overlap any of the papers, if that makes sense. So now I'm going through my stash and I'm looking for a title card that I want to use. And I saw this one with the blue, and I thought, this could really work, because it had space that I could add the date, but it also had a little space there up at the top that maybe I could add a sentiment. So I thought that was really cool. So I pulled out the right now, and it was, on top, the words were on top of each other, and I wanted something that was lengthwise. And luckily, the one that said, this is real life, the stamps that said this is real life, actually fit in it perfectly. So I was super excited to be able to use that. And then I decided with that white space, I wanted to use the mega date stamp. So I'm pulling over my mega date stamp, and I'm pretty excited about that. But for whatever reason, I get sidetracked, which I totally do. And one of the things that I noticed with that title card, so the title card is kind of a grayish blue, and I didn't like the Olympia color with it. It was bothering me. And I also felt like the Olympia color was bothering me, and that it seemed a little too dark, and I wanted something a little bit brighter for that photo that I'm using it on. And so I just went ahead and cut out another label, and I used Glass Slipper, that ink from Studio Calico, to cut that out. Now it doesn't match perfectly at all to the blue in the title card, but it matches the tone, and I like that better. So now I went ahead and used my date stamp and stamped right onto that card. Now I realized as I'm doing this, and I apologize, this totally gets cut off, but I realized that it's supposed to be 24 and not 26. So what I ended up doing is I just stamped the date, stamped with a 4, and then I just cut it out and I put it over the top. Now you can definitely see it. The whites do not match, but I'm totally fine with it and it doesn't bother me at all. All right, so what I'm moving on to is I realize I have an extra 4x6 card or photo, and I need to put something there. Like I said, I didn't take a lot of photos this week, but I did remember when I was specifically looking through those cards that I did have some photos of some tulips. So I thought that I would print something out, and then I realized that I had these 2 photos that I put together. These are of my daughter from some of her performances. One of them was from school, and one of them was from this after school orchestra that she does. And so with those 2 performances this week, I just made the photos both black and white. And so I thought that I would actually just punch them out. So I used a punch that I had, and I actually don't know the size. I think it's a little bit bigger than 2.5 inches, but it's from Marvy, and I bought it like forever ago, probably like 2006 or 5 or something like that. But I'm sure that they have something out there like that. So I will, if it's not still available, I will look for something as well. And instead of just printing one 4x6 photo of the tulips, I decided that I would match the technique that I'm doing, or match that card, and I would print out 2 photos, and then I would punch them out into squares as well, so that I could have 2 4x6 cards that were very similar. Now I definitely like being able to do that. I think it helps, like adding one label, like instead of just adding one label, you add multiple labels. It really helps to be able to move your story through the spread. And so I do like adding multiples of things. And so that's why I thought it would be a really great idea to do something very similar with those photos. And I like that it's different and unique than what I have done in the past. Normally, if I do something like that, it will just be with one photo. So I was happy to do 2. So now you can see that I'm just adding some of these labels down. And the reason why I went ahead and cut that label before I put it onto the photo is because it has that white border, and I didn't want that label to go through the white border. So I just cut it first and then added it onto the photo. And now you can see that I'm just going to go ahead and adhere these photos side by side, these squares. And then I'm going to grab over the stamp set again. And I really like the sentiments, like I said, in the stamp set. Some are like bold and some are regular type. And so I grabbed over some of the ones that were bold. This one that I'm using says amazing. So I'm just going to stamp that down with some black ink. And then the other one, I actually, what I ended up doing with this photo is, I can't remember if you just saw it in the video, but I raised the images a little bit. So when I stamped down the stamp, it would, the photos and the stamp together would look centered on the 4x6 card. And so I'm just raising those photos a little bit. And for whatever reason, I'm getting really picky. I definitely didn't need to be, because these photos are not next to each other. But you'll see that I end up getting really picky, and I think I just want it to look centered. And since I know the other one worked out, with my spacing, I was just trying to match it the best I could. So then I end up stamping down extraordinary or extraordinary, however you want to say it. And then I decided to do a box around it. Now, if you've seen any of my other videos, like I've said before, I really like to do this with photos that are on white cards because I feel like those photos can often feel like they're floating. So I think that it makes it feel like it's grounded. It makes me feel like the card is a little bit more finished. So that's why I just went ahead and do that. So I really love the way that card worked out. And I especially love it when I have no idea what I'm going to do and I have no idea what it's going to look like. And it ends up working out. I don't know. It just made me really happy. Those squares. I need to remember to do that more. I used that punch so much back in the day, especially my 3-inch punch. All right, so now I'm moving on to doing a little bit of the journaling there on those 3x4 cards. This card in particular, I wanted to write a little bit about how I took way less photos this week, but also sharing gratitude for how much I love being able to document life. So I liked just adding those bits of journaling along with some fact-based journaling that was more of I guess that was fact and feels. So I like being able to have each of those. So now I have 2 more cards or 2 more spaces that I want to fill. So I know that I want to do one about prom, and I think that I'll end up just doing a blank white card for that. But I'm trying to decide what else I want to do. And at this point, I'd forgotten that I kind of wanted to do a list of probably like 3 things that were going on. Oftentimes, I like to write down, 3 things. So something that's going on with each of my kids. But I had forgotten about that for whatever reason. And so I was kind of looking for more filler cards than I was journaling cards. I was also, and you can see that I was also looking through some of my chipboard to see what embellishments I wanted to add there as well. So you can see this card that I pulled out looks kind of like a banner. That card is actually from... One Little Bird. It's a digital card that I had printed out. And this reminded me that I need to be better about printing out my digital products. So I do have, not a ton, but I do have several digital products. And I think it is so good, especially for someone like me who likes to have cards right in front of her, to have those cards printed so that I can use them and I know they're there because I don't often go to my computer and look at the cards. I like to see them right in my hand. So if you're like me, I would definitely suggest printing out some of those digital supplies so you have them on hand so you can use them, and you don't have to necessarily plan for it. So now I'm just looking for maybe an embellishment that I can put on top of that. Some of these chipboards that I'm looking through came from the April Studio Calico kit that says this note. And I actually end up moving it over onto that other card that I made. And I really like it there. I'm a huge fan of this semicircles. So I don't know. I need to think about getting more embellishments that look like that. And again, I'm still just kind of decide what stamps I want to put on those labels. I think I might go ahead and cut that portion out because you don't need to see me stamp. Like I said, this video is kind of long, so I believe I end up cutting that portion out of it. So there you go. You saw that I stamped noteworthy onto there. And the other photo I put, let's do this. That was the photo of my daughter with her friend. Of course, they were playing with slime and trying to make like this huge slime bubble. I don't know if any of your kids are addicted to slime, but mine is. It's kind of crazy. So I did a little bit of journaling on that card, and then I'm just solidifying what I want to put on this filler card. Love this chipboard came from Allie Edwards. I absolutely love that chipboard. I want to have more of them so I can use more of it. And then I just finished off with another card. Like I said, that one was of prom. And that is the spread for this week, you guys. Like I said, this is a long video. So if you made it through to the end, thank you. You're awesome. Hope you guys were able to find some inspiration from this. And if you are new to my channel, I would love for you to subscribe so that you can get updates when my videos go live. All right, you guys, we will catch you in the next video. Bye.